everyone, Andrew Marquis, themarquisteam.com, Cross Country Mortgage, reaching out on this Friday, midday here with an update and keeping this somewhat as an informal video, but I'm getting a lot of questions surrounding this court ruling that's in process regarding buyer's agency fee. And basically, I'm not an expert in exactly what's happening and how it's going down, but I think what people are anticipating is that the government is sort of saying that the seller is under no obligation to pay a buyer's agent fee, meaning they could elect to just pay their listing agent to sell their home, in which case if a buyer's agent was working on behalf of a buyer, they would have to collect that buyer's agent fee directly from the buyer. And I think the concern that I keep hearing from various agents, and the reason I'm posting this video, is why can't we finance the buyer's agent fee into the transaction? Why can't it be part of the mortgage? So that's where I'm going to try to add a bit of context today to help everyone better understand this. Basically, when we make a mortgage loan, we lend based on the lesser of the purchase price or the appraised value. We're really constrained by the collateral of the property. So think about it this way. If you have a buyer that's putting down a sizable down payment, 10, 15, 20% or more, we can easily finance the buyer's agent fee into the transaction by basically reducing their down payment. If let's say an average buyer's agent fee is 2.5%, you have a buyer putting down 25%, we could have the buyer put down 22.5% instead, and then essentially we're financing in the buyer's agent fee. So this is a question I keep getting asked is like, why does everyone keep saying that we can't finance the buyer's agent fee into the transaction? And I would say, if there's adequate equity or adequate down payment, we definitely can. We can reduce the down payment, and then that buyer would have more money available to pay the buyer's agent fee. Now, I think where the concern comes in is on a very low down payment transaction, a first-time home buyer or someone that's putting down 3.5%, 5%. In those scenarios, let's take a 3% down payment. That buyer really wouldn't have a lot of extra money laying around to then write a check for 2.5% to the buyer's agent. So, in that scenario, we would have to look at some type of a down payment assistance loan where we could provide down payment assistance to then reduce the down payment to offset the buyer's agent fee. Or we could look, we do have down payment assistance on conventional, we have it on FHA. So we could work on options to bring that 3 or 3.5% down payment down to 1% or 0% to free up funds to pay the buyer's agent fee. But it is certainly more challenging on a very low down payment loan to do that. The concern, I think, is like we can't lend more than the purchase price or lend more than the appraised value of the property, because in that scenario, we really don't have collateral. We're talking about lending above 100% loan to value, which I did see that happen in my career. It was 2008, and I think all those lenders imploded very quickly when we went through the financial crisis, the ones that were sort of lending above a property value, assuming that it would increase over time to cover that loan as collateral, and clearly the market dipped and they all went under. So, but again, I think there are ways to cover that buyer's agent fee by reducing the down payment. I think where the challenge is really going to be is on those low down payment scenarios where we're going to have to look at a 3.5% or 5% down payment and figure out ways to subsidize some of that down payment by reducing it with down payment assistance or some other vehicle to free up buyers' money to then pay their buyer's agent if the seller is unwilling to do so. Again, a lot of this is in flux, the way it's going to play out in the courts. I think a lot of sellers are still going to elect to pay a buyer's agent fee because I think they're going to realize that if they don't pay a buyer's agent, maybe less people are going to want to show that house. They're going to get less market exposure, and ultimately their net sale price might be lower if they have less buyer's agents looking at that property. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. This video isn't really to speculate on how it's going to play out or really what the court rulings could or might not be. It's really to add clarity to the financing of a buyer's agent fee and how we as a lender will do our best to accommodate that to free up buyers' funds so that they can then pay the buyer's agent fee if necessary. So if you have any questions on this, I know it's still unraveling and developing over time here, but if you have questions about financing and how to build this in, please reach out to my team and I anytime. Again, it's themarquisteam.com, and hope you all have a great weekend ahead. Thanks for tuning in.